Okay, welcome along everybody to today's Assets and Infrastructure meeting, 20th of November 2024. This is the second meeting that has been held in council chambers today, with policy and planning being held earlier. Therefore, the council prayer has been read with councillors. I have apologies received from Councillor Sharland. No other apologies, and a quick scan of the room tells me everybody else is here. I have Councillor Brian Carter online. Welcome along, Brian. Keep your hand up if you've got a comment throughout the day, so that I can keep an eye on you. Thank you very much. Public forum. I've not been notified of any public forum, so I take it that there is none. Conflict of interest, standard declaration. We all know what's involved around that. If you feel you have a conflict of interest at any stage throughout today's meeting, please bring it to the chair's attention as soon as you feel you may be conflicted. Confirmation order of business is as per the order paper and has been circulated to you all. So we'll take that as confirmed, and we'll move straight through to the confirmation of the minutes of the Assets and Infrastructure meeting held on, what was the date? 11th of July. Okay, so we'll move through step by step as we do. We will be starting with on page 8 of your agendas, moving through, looking for alterations or amendments. Page 9, 10, 11, being none. Happy to move.
I'll second.
Move Councillor Duncan, second Councillor Lambert. Thank you. All those in favour? Aye, that motion is carried. Thank you. Now moving on to the follow-up action list. There are 16 items listed on there. I don't wish to go through them all individually. You've had all those items before you, and I'm sure you would have reviewed them in your order paper. The only comment that I would make is that there are a number in there listed as closed. So does anybody have any items noted from the follow-up actions list that they would like further information on? Your Worship, Mayor Andy.
I've got 3
Item numbers, please.
First, item number 1 is just for advice. I have said that I will meet with Matt Thomas as early as he wishes. So that's just
That's an update. Thank you.
the second one, number 2, is again the guarantee. I'm just concerned that if we put off understanding the guarantee to such a stage that we're unable to effectively change streams, if we keep developing and developing and developing all of the actions and expense associated with it, and then a guarantee is not suitable or on it, I think the earlier that we know the outline of the guarantee, the better.
Okay, I note that that item is in progress. Do you have further information relating to it? It's something that we have discussed in some detail before, but is there any updates on Mayor's concerns?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think something that might be helpful is the guarantee is dependent on the trial plant. They can't tie the guarantee down until the trial plant is completed and they have absolute confidence in what it does, because the guarantee said it will do that.
Yeah, but if
So that's
I understand
the
what
two
you're
are
getting
connected.
at, but my concern is we keep barreling down a path, and then you each end up inevitably reaching a point of no return.
So nothing will be ordered or progressed until the trial plant is a positive and we have the guarantees.
Okay, so if I'm hearing that correct, the fallout will be that the guarantees will be given subject to the trial of the plant. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was one of the issues that was raised in Wellington with a similar position, similar company.
Thank you. There was a third item, Your Worship.
And the third item is in terms of the Otara Bridge. When we close something, we should actually understand whether that closed with a surplus and then make a decision as to what happens with it. So if it's absolutely neutral balance, then you close it and say, the entire budget was spent and completed. But if a budget was closed and there was budget surplus left over, then it needs to have a direction for the finance team as to what happens to it, same with assets.
Okay, update on that, thank you, Mr. No.
Yeah, that was emergency works. There was no budget for that. There was emergency spend out of existing budget, so we didn't allocate a certain sum. The question really was, the price that was put up when it happened, did we spend more than that? And we didn't spend more than that. So we brought those numbers back to the.
But we produced in reports the expected cost.
Yeah, that was, after the fact. So the expected costs, we were just under the expected cost, but there was no allocated budget for it.
It'd be useful to know those things.
We did report
It's just a general practice.
we did report on that.
Yeah, I note in the project management report further in today's agenda, there is an item that's listed as closed. And I have a similar question to what your question is on that one as well. Councillor Loudon.
Item 6,
Item 6.
Kaimatawa Road, it says it's closed. However, the report that is provided doesn't necessarily suggest that it's closed. It's rather open, and I have a few questions on that.
Yeah, if I may,
Yep.
yeah, what I wanted to do is distinguish between things that becomes a project, that becomes something we report on from follow-up actions. Otherwise, these things just stay open forever and ever, and we don't seem to get through them. So we have a report, we'll discuss the way forward, and it will be dealt with in that way. Which means it's not a follow-up action anymore. We followed up. We brought this report to council. That's just my view, though. I'm not the decision maker here, so.
Rather
If-
open topic still.
If council would like to keep it there, we're happy to keep it there.
It would progress through to a roading report, which would be covered off similar to the roading report that we've got in today's.
It'll be on there.
Yeah, so is that the best way to progress that further? Do you think? Is that, and Councillor Loudon, are you happy if it progresses through there? Would you like to see it still remain on an action list?
I'd like to see it remain on an action list because it's going to be a bit of a theme on our side, I think. But
We can list that as in progress or ongoing, then it's just the one line and keeps our attention drawn to it, so I'm comfortable with that if the rest of the committee is. Yep. Okay, any other matters arising to that list? Councillor Dalgety.
Might be a reminder, just with the discussion with the public with local water done well and talking about the state of our own pipes. And I'm just, can you remind me how confident we are with the knowledge of the state of our own pipes, please?
Yeah.
And how we ascertain that.
I'd happily pass it on to you.
Yeah, just so,
Sorry.
just if I could just call us back a little bit here, but so this isn't relating to any item on the,
No, it's a new item,
so you're wanting it as a new item?
yeah.
Okay, Your Worship, you've got comment?
And yes, there has been a considerable amount of work done on trying to understand the condition of pipe work for the country per se, identified to each council. And there has been an embargoed report where local government and a number of councils have said we're not satisfied, presumably, with how this report was compiled, and would like an embargo until a little bit further work done. The only thing that I would be prepared to say is that the pipe work in the Rangitikei comes out in a favourable position compared to most other councils in the country.
That's good news.
I haven't replaced I can't release the report, but from our point of view, it's probably not, you've seen the report,
No.
Okay, so if we, I'm just, sorry, just trying to look for the benefit of staff, is there an action that we want to have added to the list regarding this, or if this is a general comment? I'm not sure how we capture that, if there's something that you're looking to have captured, Councillor Dalgety, as in an action list.
So, yeah, I was just, that's the mayor's view. How do, I'd be interested in staff's, How do they garner that knowledge?
Can I maybe also suggest if I have a satisfactory answer to councillor's question, then we can review that as a question that's dealt with.
Thank
If
you,
not,
yeah.
then it can be added as a follow-up action.
I think councillor will come up in the rural provincial meeting, which is over the next 2 days,
Okay,
and I'll try and
leave
get
it for
some
another day.
clarification as to.
Can I just please give you the detail that you're looking for? So the general asset management thread or practice is to look at these assets in age only. So they normally, depends on the material, but they normally have 100-year expected life. So in the past, people used to say if a pipe was installed in 1950, we need to replace it in 2050. What we realized, that is not the case. So if you work in an older place like we have in Martin and Bulls or Wanganui, we often dig a pipe up that's 115 years old and it's good condition. So there's no physical relationship between the age and the condition of the pipe. It depends on many other things. So what I've done for Rangitikei, and I've spoken to Audit about this a lot because they've had a lot of questions about the asset condition assessments that's in our asset register. At the moment, they are all low and our percentage of confidence is low because we haven't looked at all of them, so we don't know. But what I am working on and have worked on over the last 3 years is a more intelligent way of looking at the assets. So what we are saying is we start off firstly by measuring to see what's happening on these networks. So we've done that across the entire district. So now we have a network performance picture, and then we move on from there and we build these models that will tell you where the networks have problems and we would expect them to have problems. And then we compare that to real life. And then, so we've done that. The third part that we look at now is criticality. So what we're saying is the whole network is not equally important. If you've got a pipe that services 4 houses and it breaks, that's fine, we'll fix it. If you've got a big pipe that runs under a hospital or a school on a steep gradient across State Highway 1, that's an important pipe. So criticality is the next step. And then once we've identified the critical assets, we actually put a camera in them and look at all of them. And then we come up with a 30-year program prioritized of what we should do when. So then what happens is I can come to council and say, good information, good decisions, we need to invest money on these things in these years. And that's where we're heading. So Audit's happy with what we're doing. They understand the logic of why I say confidence is low on condition, but they also understand how far we've progressed on that new asset management strategy to invest money on the correct asset at the correct time. So that's what we're looking at.
Okay, councillor Dalgety, does that clarify the question for you? I'm just again trying to think, is there an action that we need to put on the list on this somehow?
May I suggest there's a nice write-up in the asset management plan. I'll cut that out and send it to you. It's a nice synopsis of
Oh, thank
exactly
you.
what I've just
That
said.
is fine, thank you very much.
Am I also correct in saying that a lot of this work was undertaken end of last year or early last year when we were looking at the first state of play with regards to what was the 3 waters at the time we had to do our condition report? A lot of that work was started then, is that correct?
Yeah, so it's 3 years old now.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. So, but I'm happy to send that on.
Okay, coming back to the items at hand, councillor.
So just on that one, Anna, would that be all right if you just copied me into that as well? Yeah.
Anybody else?
Or
I can send it to all. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, good,
Yes.
thank you for that explanation. Councillor Duncan.
The last, well, everything to do with State Highway 1 and the Tai Happy problems, I just wondered, a lot of it sort of came about over a year ago, and it's closed. We've submitted a report to Waka Kotahi. I totally understand our inability to make much difference, but the problem continues. When do we need to bring that back for another submission to Waka Kotahi?
If I may.
Yeah.
The reason why I closed them, that is a Waka Kotahi responsibility and activity.
Yes.
We don't have the resource to chase them and do their job for them. This is the problem for us. We got so much on that at some point we have to say, we've tried as hard as we can. Alternatively, the Tai Happy committee can chase us up if they want. So we've added all the numbers, so they actually have a number to say, we've actually submitted this thing way back when, how are you getting on? The problem that I have is we just don't have the resource to keep doing it.
Further question, councillor Duck?
Yes, a further question to that is, the Taiba Community Board, yes, we can they can bring it back to, but it still has to come through council. No, can they now with that number go straight to Waka Koutari?
It's on their system.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, that's the RFS system.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's relating to item 13, 14, 15 and 16 of the follow-up, which is the final four on that list. Is those the four that you're referring to, councillor Duncan? I
Yes, thank you
suspect
very
so.
much. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, are there any further questions of the follow-up list? So apart from the item number 6 that councillor Loudon suggested should remain open or in progress, particularly as it's a matter that's before us later down the line, by accepting the report, those that are subsequently listed as closed will drop off the follow-up actions list. That would be my understanding. That would be correct. So apart from the amendment to councillor Loudon's concern, all the other items that are listed as closed, because I haven't heard anybody else that they remain open, therefore they would be dropping off our follow-up actions list. That would be my understanding. If that is the case, I'll move that the follow-up action list be received. Looking for a seconder. Councillor Carter, or did you have a question, councillor Carter, or sorry, were you just seconding? Seconding, thank you. Okay, all those in favour? Against? That motion is carried.
Mm. Thank you.
Chair's report, the chair will, just the words maybe may, the chair will provide a verbal report at the meeting and I have nothing to report. Just to note that this is our, it's been some 2 months, or 3 months nearly since we actually met as a full council body. That is not to say that we as Assets and Infrastructure have not been very busy in the background at the number of workshops that I thank you for your attendance and input to. And I would note, particularly for the fact that we are online, that our workshops are open to the public. They just give us an open opportunity as councillors to delve in a little bit deeper into some of the discussions that we need to have around, particularly around assets and infrastructure. So thank you for your continued commitment and in that space. So you can list that as no report received if it's easier for you. Reports for information. Noting some of these reports have been in front of you all at our last council meeting. We'll step back through them in this space. Welcome to the table, Mr. Black, Roading Transport Manager for RDC. Item number 9, your report, sir.
Thank you, Dave. So first one, there's just an update on the contract procurement process. We're quite on the Western Front at the moment. The document's out on the market and we're waiting for submissions to come back. So that'll come back in Friday the 30th of December, which is a good day to pick, but that's and then there'll be some deliberation done then and the decision will be looked at in February, early February. So we want to get something back to you for the February council meeting. Next one is just an overview of the expenditure on the roading activity as a whole. We're sort of 33% through the year, but 26% budget spent. That's mainly because of the renewal programs. They lag behind a little bit. They'll kick off in the summer, so we'll pick it back up. There's an attachment there from Higgins. It was their monthly report. If you want to go through that page by page, or
I think we could jump straight to that monthly report because it's, I think it's useful. It's the second time we've seen this first time we saw this was at the council meeting last, but
first
I
time.
thought it was quite good. Did councillors want to have a look at that in a bit of detail while we're on that item 1.3, or would you like to refer to it at the conclusion of this report? What would councillors prefer?
To the end.
Okay, we'll step through that and let you carry on.
The next item was Calico Line footpath. We've had a revised construction plan which fits our budget. It's a little bit less than what we've got or what we had allocated. Now it's back into the arena, I guess, for a decision on where we're going to progress with it. It's one of those things that have been deemed nice to have maybe, but there is a safety aspect to it. And so just want some guidance from you as whether it needs to go back to council meeting for that decision or.
Yeah, when would we see this coming through, your worship? Have you got thoughts on this one? Because there's a couple of items in today's agenda that do reference being reconsidered by council.
Correct.
Yep.
And to be honest, in terms of people, the staff and Mr. Black, in terms of the earlier that we can give a signal to them, the better. However, you'd be signalling an intention in terms of a direction towards a possible change to the LTP.
Would it be a change to the LTP or would it be addressed at the annual
An
plan?
amendment.
Yeah, could it be addressed at the annual plan? Or
Yes.
yeah.
Well, you have to think in terms of the LTP and the annual plan being one and the same to a certain extent this coming year, because we will be making adjustments, amendments to the LTP within the annual plan.
Looking at the work schedule and without Ms. Gordon being with us here in particular, I'm not sure that we've got any workshops or any meetings scheduled to look at these couple of items that would enable us to do that before the end of this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, what we could do through you, Chair, is we could add it to the 12th of December workshop that's scheduled for annual plan budgets.
Yeah, that could become a discussion document, but it wouldn't be a decision-making meeting at that, so.
You can look at it as an analogy to what we're doing in Three Waters. So within the Three Waters or local water done well space, effectively council will be coming to a preferred position subject to consultation and amendment within the LTP. You can there's nothing to stop you taking a similar view to say that we are reviewing these capital works and coming to a position that council would see as a preferred position going into that. It is quite common at the moment for councils around the country to be reviewing these things.
Councillor Davey?
So sorry, just for clarity, this goes then back out for consultation. And we're saying we prefer not to do it and then we see what the response is.
No, what we'd be doing is there'd be a number of adjustments that we're saying this is our intention and would go out as a wider part of the document,
Thank you.
signaling a change.
Basically saying that there may be some works that we're no longer considering, given varying different reasons and cost constraints.
Yeah.
But I guess what I was talking about, the timeframe of how do we progress this and give direction to staff is to make sure that we're not incurring any additional costs on some of these work streams that we haven't already incurred. And I would, my guess is if we received a revised estimate, then we have no other further costs to attribute to this program if it was to sit for what could be effectively another couple of months before we can actually give you the signal that you're looking for.
There's one remaining thing is a safety audit on the construction plan, so that'll be less $5,000, so not a lot.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I just maybe add, the big difference between the two, and I think this is important for councillors, is the original design was on the actual boundary where the pegs are as you drive by. The new design is to leave all the fences exactly where they are. We are now where they are on council land, but to leave them there and then to fit this in the remaining space. That's the big change.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think as a committee and as around the council table, we've got over that one, which is a good result for any. Okay, so the answer to that, Mr. Black, is we can't really give you that direction just at this point in time, but it will be something that'll be considered a bit further.
So that the only thing there is if it pushes into next year will be, we may be under a new contract, or we will be under a new contract arrangement, but whether it's the same contractor or not. So the price will likely change, but hopefully.
I think unfortunately that's just one of the realities of democracy of local government. We're just going to have to ride with that because I don't think we're in a position to say that we are going to carry on with this project just at this stage. Councillor Duncan.
Clarity, are we saying that this is going to come to a workshop next month? Is that what was discussed? Yeah, okay, so potentially we could make a decision for.
Well, we won't be able
no.
to make that decision at a workshop. It won't be a decision-making workshop.
Right, so
We'll certainly
we're into
get some
next year
greater
anyway.
clarification as to when and if a decision could be made and at what meeting it might be made at.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd refer it to a council meeting. End of story. And just make a decision.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, but there might be a couple of other matters that we need to go to that as well. So this could be one of them.
The earlier that you give council staff direction on this, the better.
We do have a final meeting in December, I believe, on the 19th. Which we could do it at that. for
Can we
that.
make a recommendation from this committee?
The question from me would be, do you have paperwork where you fully understand it? And if the answer is no, then you can't. But if you've got full understanding and council staff are happy that the report portrays the situation well for you to make a decision.
I think the best way forward with this one is noting that there is another couple of items that are also further up for discussion along with similar ilk to this. That a workshop to get the greater understanding of the financial implications and the costs and the process of going that forward, what would need to do with regards to consultation and engagement and whatever the matter may be. I think the best thing to do is to take this matter and the other matter I'm referring to as we get to it in the order paper through to that meeting of the 12th, which could then formulate a decision on the 19th, which is our final meeting of the year. That way we can give that clear direction to staff that they're it's either in or it's out. So we're not mucking around. Councillor Dalgety.
Is it an option, rather than yes or no, that it is delayed for later in the long-term plan?
Let's discuss it at a workshop and see what
Yeah,
implications that
that's
might
what
have.
That's what
Yep. That
I've
could be
considered, not.
a discussion that comes up at that workshop meeting on the 12th. Okay, moving on from that one, Greg. Sorry,
I've
Councillor
still
Moore.
got a further comment. I think we have got enough information to make a decision. We know that the original plan budget was 300,000. We know that the survey plan that came back with was over the 300,000. We've gone back, come up with the practical plan to reduce the cost to $260,000. I think that all we have to do is make a decision whether it's delayed or thrown out altogether and go from there. So,
The point is all you'd be doing here is making a
yeah,
recommendation.
recommendation
You could
to
make a
council
decision.
for discussion.
Which would go to which council meeting?
Got one coming up in one.
I still think your workshop.
And a workshop, you were saying, make a decision and get on with it.
I
Well, a workshop's another delay in the decision-making process.
The point that I'm making is that there may be more than one item go to that meeting once you've had further discussion. Well, there is more than one item to be discussed along this line in a workshop environment. And I think you should look at them, there's a couple, we should look at them their entirety to then take it through to a council meeting for a final decision.
Tempted to make a motion, but I'm not going to support, so I'm back off.
Good discussion and debate on that one taken. So keep that in the forefront of your minds that we are going to make a decision before the end of this year is desirable. Thank you.
Oh, well, maybe. I will make a motion.
You'd like to move a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the Ngātawa Calico line, no, I'm not going to say no. Calico line footpath be not happen, be scrapped. In the interest
So
of,
the line footpath project be withdrawn from the project management list.
yeah,
What does that affect? Is that what you're suggesting the wording is?
what I'm trying to say is that the
Works program. Yep.
works program, the $260,000 cost is under the. Is it a nice to have scenario?
It's your motion.
Yeah, I'm gonna
You'll
move.
move it.
Yep. That council, that we've removed the Calico line footpath from our project. Works program.
Move
Oh,
councillor
you
Moore.
can't second it now.
Move councillor Moore. You'll be seeking a seconder before it was to be open for discussion. Are you happy with the wording before I seek a seconder?
Yes, I am happy with the wording.
Okay, seeking a seconder for Mr. Moore, councillor Moor's motion. Seeking a seconder. Not receiving a seconder, the motion is lapsed. Okay, thank you. Going on, Mr. Black.
The next one is around seal extensions that we had planned for this year. There was a question asked during the CapEx review whether those projects had been approved formally by council. I had a bit of a dig around and I found that resolution there, which I don't know, that reads that the Curl, Turkana Valley and Watershed Road were to go in instead of the ones that were already programmed. We had an approved budget with those three in it. So yeah, really wanting clarification on what the question was really. Do we proceed with those this year? We've got them. One's pretty much past the point of no return, but there's never, you can never say never.
I'm not sure what the question was asked at the previous, that's led to this, or who the councillor was that may have asked the question, Worship Mayor. Just looking at it, is the work required? If it's required and there's a genuine need for that work to require the access to the space to enable it to what it's to do, and it's programmed, looking at the fact that it was carried by myself and councillor Gordon, that's 3 years ago now at least. Is it works that's required to be done, and has it been assessed as such?
I think to the value of the committee, these works have been on the works program and the asset management activity for a long time. Yeah. And we tried to get more detail from going back in time, but I can remember there was quite a lot of pressure on Watershed and some of the other roads that had a lot of issues. And there was a reprioritization of what was more important than others, and this is where this came up. So it has been on the works program for a long time, and I think it was pushed up on the priority list in 2021. Okay, to get them done.
Your Worship, have you got comment on this one as perhaps being the driver of the question?
Okay. First of all, there were several processes that have been put in place over a number of years in terms of unsubsidised seal extensions, etc. And the first part of that process was asking whether people that saw benefit from it were prepared to financially support it. So you got, for instance, properties that had were looking for seal extension in terms of dust, etc. And so you would go to those properties and say, as part of that consideration for council to make a decision, are you prepared to contribute to it as well? That was the first part. But more importantly, the second part was that those decisions come as active decisions by council in terms of unsubsidised work. So there are several that I could quote fairly quickly. The latest ones were Mokai Road and Mount Curl. And those were active decisions made to make a decision. And that's where we're getting to now. Our council wants to make the active decision to do unsubsidised work. It should be an active decision by council.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. The mayor bring it up. I just need to clear it up for myself too, because this is included in the long-term plan budgets. All the budgets that's run by you, these are included and specified.
You can signal that it's been included as part of the asset management plan and adopted as part of the long-term plan, then you have the right to go through it. Absolutely the right to do it.
So my understanding is, and what I'm hearing is that it is costed in our current budgets. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So if it's costed in our current budgets, we're hearing that the work is about to start and the need is still required. Therefore, we should be proceeding with the work and the question that was asked has been answered. Is that my understanding? Just checking around the
So
room.
the question I would have, is it signalled in the annual plan work in our asset management plan for this year? I'm not sure that it is.
According to the report here, is it 24-25 and then 25-26?
So those are the budgets that make up the figures that are reported, that specific projects aren't listed.
If it's signalled in the asset management plan, normally you'd go to the long-term plan and flick it through to the roading, and it should feature there as unsubsidised work, because that's what we do.
Okay, so it's unsubsidised work that is factored into our LTP, which is factored, obviously our long-term plan, which means it reflects right through in all our budget lines for our capital spends and our rates indicated and our financial positions across the board. Because if it's unsubsidised, it's been factored into it.
We can do a check,
We're just going to check on that, yeah.
because I think this table comes out of the.
Well, I might do a
activity
screen.
management thing.
It comes out of a spreadsheet that fed into the asset activity management plan.
So it's definitely specified to, and you can see it's the first 3 years is what we apply for, so I reckon this comes straight out of the document.
Well, it certainly shows that there is approved 24-27 activity management plan.
My apologies. Recording.
So we'll just take a couple of minutes to get a bit of clarification around this, so that the committee is clear to what His Worship the Mayor is seeking as the person that raised this question. So we need to be very clear as to what this is. We'll just take a couple of moments here.
Can I ask staff a question?
Is it relating to this matter in particular? Yes, councillor Dalgett.
So, I mean, you haven't been in your hot seat for that long. Is this, has there been trouble with getting the information that you need to continue? Is this an issue?
I had some more information come up on this on Friday after I missed the deadline for the report, so I'm guessing, the answer, I had a little bit of trouble finding information.
Thank you.
So, for instance, if you go to your long-term plans, 65 for major programs roading, and you can break it down by year, by year, by year. And that gives you the road improvements, and it also just says in terms of non-subsidised work, various non-subsidised budgets.
So there's a budget line for it.
Yeah.
But the LTP is never going to fully list all those.
Past, these have come specifically to council. I'm not against it, but I'm just saying that's the process.
All I can refer back to is the fact that what Mr. Black has brought up as a council resolution, moved by councillor Gordon, seconded by myself back whenever that was in 21. So therefore it did come to council. This is now coming to the fruition of that
If you're
intention.
comfortable with that, I'm comfortable.
So if we're happy with that has answered the question and it has been brought to our attention, and that those works will continue as per part of your activity management plan. On a non-subsidised basis for mitigation of sea. Okay. Thank you. Good discussion on that one, team. Moving on, 1.6. This is a matter that was referred to by councillor Loudon earlier.
Next topic, this one, this involves a logging site where there was a skid site above the road. When the logging operations ceased, there was a depression and a bit of a pond and some slash left up on the top of the road, collected water, cracks opened up on the side of the hill, and it's caused what they call a global failure, so it's a huge slip failure. Everyone's ducking for cover on it, and we've got a road that goes through the middle of it. So at the moment, it's sitting with Horizons and the Forestry Management Company. There's a sort of a ratepayer at the end of the road who's really had nothing to do with this. He just lives past it, and he's bearing the brunt of where access and, you know, can't get an ambulance down there if you needed to. It's not a good situation for him. So really just to bring it to your attention that if we are brought into this, it's a significant cost. If we were to have to reprofile the side of that hill and get it to a level that we could build a solid road on.
Okay, not a good situation to find ourselves in. And from what I've read in the report and what I can see in the report and what's been presented to us, certainly something that is far from our making as an issue. What, I guess the big question is, what is the way forward? What do we do and how do we do it? And
What options are we?
what discussions are being had with varying different people that someone's saying, not our problem, not our problem, not our problem, but ultimately it looks like it's being finger pointed at us as the owners of the road.
Can I just, before the conversation continues, add a bit more context? That road really only have two customers on it. One is a large farm, the other one is a small person at the end of the road. It's only the two. A repair, as it stands now, is beyond $1 million. And this is where it becomes really difficult, because from an NZTA perspective, there is a point where they will not fund repairs like this if it's uneconomical for them, for only one user. So the reason why I bring that up, it's not as easy as let's just shift it up on the priority list. It's a much more complex decision, because if we're going to spend that kind of money on this road, it means there's a whole lot of other work we just can't do.
It was actually noted on an emergency works claim, because that's when it first happened, but it really, I mean, that was the catalyst. It wasn't really the cause of it. So it's sitting in an emergency work pool, if you like, but I don't think NZTA would.
Not likely to achieve any funding. Your worship, I'm aware that you're had some involvement in this. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, in terms of the report, where it says there's only one property, we should actually note, formally note that there are two properties. So one is the farm, and the second property is distinct to that. I have had discussions with Regional Commissioner NZTA, Linda Stewart, around this issue. You start with several bases. The first base is that there is an underlying principle that we have a responsibility to maintain access to properties per se. However, Anu, you're absolutely right. Within NZTA, there are processes where you can go through a process to say it is no longer a practical position to be able to offer access. So if you think after Taurua, after Gabriel, literally there were some roads that ceased to exist, and they're having to go through those sorts of processes there. But it is a fairly high bar. I'm not sure that you're going to get an easy recognition out of who is at fault and who's not at fault, to be honest with this. You know, Horizons have produced, the contract has produced reports to indicate that the slumping of large areas that access that road had occurred for a very, very long time, and the forestry was probably planted to slow that down. But Anna's absolutely right. This could cost you enormous money.
Well, that's not what I want to hear. Councillor Duncan, you've got a comment or a question?
Oh, well, thank you, Your Worship, because you did clarify that a bit around the land potentially slumping but was the road in a usable state before the harvest? And can we prove it? Because surely that would then give clear evidence that it was the harvesting of the forestry and the fact that it wasn't put back to a usable state that has caused this problem. Is that, have we got enough to understand on there?
Well, I'm guessing we're not quite in that space yet to be having those conversations with the people, but the fundamental thing is here, we have two rateable properties in the Rangitikei district that we rate for. So therefore, we rate these properties, they would have to have access to it under our rating, to be fair. So how we've got to the situation is a very, very good question. My fundamental question is, what do we do going forward here? And how do we ensure that these people have access to the properties? And I'm trying to figure out what is the next steps of this item on the agenda, Your Worship.
My understanding, there's further information that's going to come before council in terms of TA's advice through Linda Stewart around potential processes there. And, you know, a deeper report at council. So it's difficult to my mind that you can make a decision here. You have had a council commissioned report that laid the blame, the responsibility on a combination between Horizons and the contractor. That has to be clarified.
Mm.
Clearly there's a lot more work on this one to find out what potential liability we may or may not have and what actions we can take. So we're not going to solve any of those now, but it does highlight, Councillor Loudon, before I go to you, keeping this as a live matter in our updates or our follow-up sections list, which is what you've requested. Councillor Loudon.
Council has been active, and thanks for the further reporting. My concern is that it's slumping at 300 mils a week, millimetres a week. It won't be a road soon if this, particularly with the weather the way it's been. I would urge council to be active in this process. It's not an option to sit on our hands with this. And Horizons and the Forestry Company discussions could take forever.
I think there's a report that's going to come back to us, and I do believe that Mr. Black and Mr. Kennedy in their respective roles in the council have certainly been active in this space. And this is where we're seeing this in this report. But Councillor Morn, before I go to you, can I just go to Councillor Carter, who I've just noticed, Councillor Carter?
Regarding a question, the slumping area is only a small area, but how far from that to the properties are we looking at?
Indication or an answer
I'm
for
not
that?
100% sure, maybe 2 or 3 k's past there to the last property, I think.
2 or 3 k's potentially passed was the answer, Councillor Carter, online.
That's a guess.
Thank you.
That's an estimate though, that's not a statement of fact. Councillor Moore?
This has been going on for over a year. Since August, July 2023. Have we not been made aware of why? Yeah, this is the first time we've been made aware of the severity of the situation and the potential costs. Council seems a long time to be starting to discuss it now. I just want to know why.
Yeah, just the amount of noise that this thing's been creating, I think you guys needed to know. We've got other things that are looming as well. But yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just give some more,
2024 now.
if I can just give some more context. So our position is, we didn't cause the damage. We have experts to back it up. And it's between Horizons and the contract to sort it out before we're going to fix it. So we've been clear about that all along. We have not changed our position yet. That is our position.
Yeah.
The reason why we bring to council now is they've gone to the press, they've gone to the local MP, they've gone to so many people that you are bound to hear about this. So we want to give you the information that we hold. So when you hear about this on the walking down the town, that at least you've got the background of what's going on there.
Just, Councillor Moore, can I just bring this to your attention? This is an operational matter. Okay, so it's very much an operational matter of regards to works matters in our activity management plan and asset management plan that council staff deal with all the time. They're bringing it to our attention for exactly the reasons right now that the matter is gaining a little bit of interest, shall we say. Otherwise, it would just be treated as a road repair, I would suggest, but it is an operational matter.
just like to point out to the council that this isn't the first time this has been mentioned at council. So it was included in my mayoral report at the last full council meeting with a fairly detailed as
Or
to where
hasn't
this.
been mentioned in this. Severe, how big a issue the problem is.
Well, I've
And we've just
highlighted
heard that it's only because it's become a media or publicity issue that there's more, I guess.
Sorry, I highlighted to council exactly this issue with regard to this property. I have walked up above the road and there is an area probably 30, 40 meters above the road that has dropped by 2 or 3 meters. The whole face is going to come down. That's the reality of this.
Yeah, well, the reality's just struck home now, isn't it?
But this is, whilst it's not the first time.
Surprised even our chairman that the cost was gonna be so.
Well, it surprised me that the
Yeah,
cost
so-
is going to be, there's
Yeah.
going to be that amount, but I would agree with what his worship said. It's not new to the table. But this is the first time we're seeing that reported to us in a little bit more detail would be the point. But councillor Loudon, I believe you had your hand up.
Oh, I don't disagree with you that it's an operational matter, but this one actually is potentially a significant cost to council. You know, it should be across our table early. I don't remember it being in the Merchants report, but I'm just looking now, so.
I have signalled it.
And I also suggest that it is coming across our table now. There has been no costings, there's estimates. And we do not know at this stage what the result, what the repair might need to be. We do not know whose actions are going to take. We do not know what parties are going to be involved. So it would be impossible for us to be actually trying to firm that down without the necessary information that is yet to come. Councillor Lambert.
I just changing the subject a little bit here, like we've spent 73 grand on it so far and 10 in September, so is it, we're doing it on a need to fixed basis. We're not just, it's not a constant.
No, when he's not able to get past, we just put it to make sure that, yeah, and that's borderline two-wheel drive access. We're trying to keep it open for a two-wheel drive.
Finally, from you, your worship, before we move on from
Yeah,
this one. I
I
think
just
we've done it
put
to
this in perspective. At Utaku, you have a section of State Highway 1 that is moving in a very similar way. The long-term fix for Utaku priced at 104 million. You know, and sure, that's a State Highway 1 and it's impacts rail. But essentially, you've got the same issue. The land is moving and the road is threatened. Here it's just a matter of degree. And then the matter of degree is the number of people that it affects.
Okay, let's move on. Sadly, it won't be the first item of this nature that comes to our attention and probably won't be the last. Right, if we can just carry moving on, and look at the next one, Mokai Valley Road
So
subsidence.
similar, but a bit smaller. Brought this one to your attention because we've got an avenue to apply for extra funding for this one. So it's a section of Mokai Valley Road that's doing the same thing, not from the same reasons. It's just dropping around the bluff. So we've got some options here around repair. We can apply to NCTA for a fund that we haven't had access to. They've got $100 million across the country. So we keep on asking them, how do we do this? They haven't given us an answer yet. But we've got a report from WSP coming that will support that application. So it's not as big a issue as
Your worship.
Can I just ask, is this the piece that we sealed and unsubsidized work past the bridge up and around the bluff corner?
I can't tell you for certain, but it sounds like it might be.
Yeah, I think that is the piece.
Yep.
You know, so there's a concrete bridge on the end bend and we sealed from there on around.
It's about 2 k's from the bridge, so.
Cracking.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be right.
I'm right.
All right, thank you for that report, Darren. We will go through the Higgins one, with you, but I'll just move that the report be received. Seconded by councillor Duncan, thank you that, all those in favour? Aye, against, thank you, that motion is carried. Thank you for bringing these matters to our attention, in a report like that, whilst it's a bitter pill to swallow when we don't want to be spending any more money than we have to. It's the reality of the region that we live in, and we're going to have to just try to figure our way through such matters because they're going to continue to arrive. Moving on to the monthly report, is there anything particular you'd like to step us through it? It's, I think, the first time it's come to the Assets and Infrastructure Committee, this report, although we did see it at our council meeting at the end of last month. So you'd like to highlight through it?
Just if there's any questions on them, I'm happy to answer them. I've revamped this a little bit to take a bit of flannel out of it. And I'm reasonably happy with it. It's quite brief and to the point. When the new contract kicks in, we'll have something different. I don't want to try and reinvent something right now because it's only for 6 months.
Right, just before I go to you, councillor Loudon, Mr. Benedy had a comment to make.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think maybe it's good to explain the reasoning why we include this now to the report. Myself and Mr. Black both would like to be a lot more transparent of what's happening in the roading space. We know it's of high interest to councillors, and it arms you with the right information when people ask you questions. So we thought it's healthy to share all of this, warts and all, with what's going on, and you can take the time and read through it. So that's the reason behind it.
Yeah, it's good in the detail, and I like the comment that you say it arms us with the information because it is factually stated as this is what has been going on. When everyone says nothing happens around the place, well, sorry, there has been a bit going on. Councillor Loudon, you had a comment?
Just question. Thanks for the report. I like the report. That's very helpful. Just what does LS mean?
Sorry,
LS mean?
lump sum. Sorry,
Lump sum. Thank you.
Councillor Duncan?
I've got three things to speak about.
Yep.
Thank you. I agree, this is a great report. The Mofongo Valley Road, that's scheduled as the guardrail in here, that's on a very nasty bluff, very close to my home. And the work there has been superb. I've talked about it before. It's a huge job. And it really is fabulous to see that done, because it affects a lot of people. And as I've said before, this is a secondary road for State Highway 1 when it gets closed as well. So it's really important for the school and, you know, access, etc. There is a nasty slump on Toreri Road, which I think my husband put in an RFS, conflict of interest. No, not really. But and that work also has been swiftly addressed to a small degree because it's a big problem. But what has been done already has made it so much safer. So I'd like to thank the roading team for that as well. That's excellent. And I've had feedback on Swan Street. That is a completed work in here. And that is part of another big work that was done a few years ago. And so building on that, that's basically improved for a lot of residences as well as for access. And that road goes up to the medical centre as well. So a lot of people walk that road, and that has taken away a lot of wet, slippery surface. It's really great. So thank you very much.
Thank you for those comments, councillor Duncan. Councillor Wong?
Just further to councillor Duncan's comments about the Swan Street, page 27 says it's finished. There's still 30k signs and things. Is good. Have we what is finished and what needs doing?
Follow up on that. I don't know if there's any road surface work done there or not.
Right, because this construction is finished, but the project isn't quite finished.
Mr. Black's indicated he'll come back to you on that one. Thank you, Mr. Black. Councillor Dalgety.
Look, Swan Street is impressive and it's in your face. I think it would be awesome to say, you know, put some Rangitikei District Council signage around it, so.
Well, I think there's been enough talk about Taihape, so I think we'll circulate back to some of the facts in the reports and get us back on track, please. Yeah, Mr. Benany.
Yeah, just one that I want to pay some attention to. His worship brought up an issue on the Five to Napier Road. If you look at the maps on page 22, you'll see the dots on there, how that's concentrated on that road, and it is something that we are keeping a very close eye on as to how do we deal with the extra tonnage and traffic on that road.
We're a bit worried about what's going to happen in summer when it heats up and we start losing chip and peeling.
Yeah, so thanks for the heads up.
Oh,
Your worship, yes.
with your permission, Chair. So there is a piece in my mayoral report on exactly that issue, but the actions we're taking precede that council meeting. So I've asked for a meeting on the 25th at Bulls, at Te Marapihi, and there will be road tracking operator, principal road tracking operator there. There'll be Kiwi Rail there. There'll be NZTA. There'll be the ports of Napier probably represented, and both councils. And I think I'm missing someone else, but essentially, and the forestry owners. So I've asked for the summit meeting. All parties know that the tonnage going over that road at 1,000 tonne a day, the road will not sustain that sort of damage for any length of time. And this is something that could last for potentially decades. There is a cost difference between carting by rail that is more expensive than carting by road. And the discussion will be centered around the damage and what other options could possibly be put in place. But it's fair to say that if we can't get some sort of decisions, then our recourse would be to the Minister, to Minister Simeon Brown. And the sorts of things that we could potentially argue for would be either increased funding or even potentially changing the law to allow for a toll. Because the toll at the moment, under current legislation, you can't put in a toll. They only apply to new roads. But effectively, we can't just sit and wait until that road is destroyed. So we're trying to be proactive here.
Look forward to the outcomes of that meeting and appreciate this, the fact, your worship, that it's a space that you are very, very active in, not only on behalf of the Rangitikei district, but on behalf of a number of other councils that you're active for in that space with NZTA. So we appreciate your work that you do and how strongly you do speak for us and advocate for our district in that respect. Thank you.
I'll just point out that will not be a public meeting. So general public or other councillors cannot elect to turn up to that meeting. It is an industry.
Yep. I think we can respect that and respect that you will have our backs and the district's back as the strongest force possible in that room. Councillor Dalgety.
I'm just interested, how do you prioritise your potholes?
They do a cyclic patrol and they'll pick them up on their patrol and they'll rack them 5, 4, 3, 2. Mostly 4s make the program. If they're 3s, potholes are a little bit different to other work because as soon as you leave it, it'll get away on you. So as soon as they notice it, they're into it. But they do prioritise them.
Thank you.
Good question. I think that pretty much winds up that portion of the agenda, but I think Mr. Black, thank you for your report. Thank you for the way it's been laid out and the information that's been in there. I think you'll take away from this and from the level of questions that have been asked by the committee. It's the information that we like to see, and thank you for bringing it to us in such a clear way, bearing in mind that this is it's a public agenda as well. So anybody looking from the public will be able to see the level of work that's going on in the background and some of the complexities of the operations of the Rangitikei District Council to get the work done across the district, which is, we know, is a large district with challenging roading across the board. So thank you for your work in that space. We appreciate that. Thank you. So moving on to 9.2 on the agenda, consent compliance report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You would notice what I've done this time around is I split things up. I think it's easier to tackle things one topic at a time. So we start off with the water supply. These are the take consents that we have. So the first table, you see that's all compliant, so that's all good. Then we move on to the new drinking water quality assurance rules. We are compliant with all the rules except where continuous monitoring is involved. And for us, as a district, that is challenging because a lot of our installations are in the rural space. And what quite often happens, there's a brownout, not even a blackout. The PLCs need to reset, and in that reset space, we can't continuously record what's happening, and we are not compliant. So we are working very hard on figuring out how do we get around the problem. But most of these are really technical non-compliances, and the water quality that we produce to customers are safe all the time. Then we move on to the wastewater space. If there are any questions on the water space.
Councillor Loud.
Just on water supply, there was a recent article regarding PFAS changes in Australia, how they've reduced the compliance, or they've increased in compliance. Have Tomato, have they indicated at all whether they're going to look to change to keep in line with the USA and Australia?
No, we've received nothing
Yeah.
as to yet. Yeah, so nothing from them at the moment.
We've got testing due this month.
Yeah.
Will you be sharing that information there? So it's to really sitting in the scheme of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So now it's an annual requirement to test for that. So we do that, and you're right, it is about now. So as soon as we get results, we'll share what that is.
Does that, do we need to record that as something that will be followed up on? I mean, does that become like an action list? I just didn't want, I mean, it's a request from councillor and I don't want to see it fall off. Could we record it somewhere that we can
Add a follow-up.
as a follow-up action? I think that's a good format to put it in there. It's a reasonable question. Request from the council, and we've had an indication that there'll be some follow-up, but I'd just like to see it recorded so it doesn't drop off. Yeah, good. Thank you for that. Thank you, Kezia.
Thank you.
Carry
And
on for the
then
report.
we move on to the wastewater. We are in the market at the moment for a consent compliance officer, and the idea with those positions is to focus on compliance. The real difficulty is to take the right samples at the right time. So the consent conditions for every consent is really long and complicated, and to be sure that you tick all the boxes across both consent is a big job. At the moment, we don't have a person enough outsourced it. So for us, this is a real focus point where now that we've brought all of this back in-house, we really want to improve on compliance. And for us, in many instances, the compliance is really more on the sampling side than it is an issue on the treatment side. And even if it is an issue on the treatment side, we'll get on top of that too. So I think the point I'm trying to make with this, although the picture looks, there's a lot of red looking at the wastewater, it is a focus area for us going forwards to do better in this space. Yeah, so most of them would be, as you can see, phosphorus, ammonia, and turbidity. Those are the real challenges.
What was the item, if I can just jump back a little bit, in the drinking water, too many days between samples with a question mark. So are you not sure if that was the issue or?
Yeah, well, what we're following up is, so there's a report of when we get the results from the lab, and then there is a different day that the sample was actually taken sometimes. So we need to go back and check for that one. Was it actually taken on the correct day, or was it just reported on the incorrect date? But this is what I say with technicality. So they say 3 samples in a week, no more than 2 days apart. So if you take one on Wednesday, you then need to take one no earlier than Thursday, but Friday is still all right if you do another one on Sunday. It's that kind of thing. So it's a lot of checking. And with that one, we're not 100% sure at the moment.
It just sort of seems to me that it's and I can understand your comment about your remote ones, that's dropping out for connectivity. But it would seem to me that something like this, we
Yeah,
should be
no,
able to,
this
we
is-
should be able to get this one right.
Yeah, this is a physical, go to the tap and get a sample.
Yeah, we should be able to get that right.
Yeah,
I would
I
think.
agree.
For that one, but anyway. Moving on, no, looking around the table, no questions there, carrying on through your report.
And also what I've done is give you a view of the whole year. And the unfortunate thing is, once you got a red block somewhere, you're not compliant for the year. And again, this is a no surprises picture of what's going.
So clearly some difficulties, for us, but we need to operate the best we can. Councillor Wong.
Just one question, on these non-compliant days, what is the feedback we get from the regulator?
In different instances, we often get infringement notices and other things. They think there's something we should do to improve. But quite often, the consent conditions require us to notify them within 24 hours of having one of these. So we do that to tell them there's a problem. Also, they receive all these results directly via electronically. So they know what's going on. If they know, for instance, if you look at a lot of these with volume, if they know what's driving it, they know what's going on, and it doesn't help hitting us with a big stick if there's nothing we can do about it. So they are aware of all of these. Yeah, and they deal with them differently. Yeah.
Quick question, Councillor Loudon.
Do you get information about all councils around the country? Does the regulator send that information regarding where everyone sits?
I think, Councillor Loudon, I think there's an annual report that they share, but we don't get, during the year, we don't get feedback. But I think that's the difficult thing for me is, if they would have a national picture of who's compliant and non-compliant, you get a red dot for compliant and the green dot for the other way around. It looks bad, but if you really look at what's going on and you understand that actually the water is safe, it's not as easy as just as a red dot. But when we look on the map, it looks terrible, but it's more complex than that.
Just with that comment in mind and further to Councillor Wong's comment, looking down here, 5, item 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Item number 4, financial implications. There are no financial implications. That would lead to me believe that there's no stick being waved over us at the moment for non-compliance of any of this parts of this report with regards to the reds.
No, not at the
No,
moment.
nothing's pending. Okay.
No. So that'll be, if there's any pending prosecutions, that'll be a financial.
Yes, but nothing's pending or causing any concern. Councillor Dalgety.
I'm not sure if you can answer this, but I'm just interested with regards to Minua 2 and their stance around local water. Will they have any reds in any of their plants that they've upgraded, or don't know? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Duncan.
I'm happy to move that the report be received.
Thank you. Moved Councillor Duncan, seconded Councillor Lambert. Thank you. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried. Moving on to 9.3 of the agenda, again, a report that we have seen recently. So stepping through that there. Yeah. Was there anything you'd like to bring to our attention, bearing in mind that we did see this report at the last council meeting only 2 weeks ago? Is there anything that you'd like to highlight through to us? It is the same report, I gather, reading through it.
Yeah, same report. I think what I'd rather do is just take questions and maybe we'll go through them one by one. So if we look at Martin the Bulls, if you've got any questions that, first.
Here around the room. No questions on that item.
And then we move
Next
to
item.
Ratana.
Sorry, Councillor Carter, question online?
No, I move that we received.
Right, that's a good idea. Councillor Carter's moving the receipt off. I'm happy to second from the chair. However, I do believe we'll still continue to step our way through the report if you could. Thank you, Councillor Carter.
So any questions at the Ratana wastewater?
Being none.
Tai Happy Wastewater Treatment Plant, all those upgrades have now been completed.
That was the second, if I could just jump in there, was similar to the mayor's question. Now that that's been completed, unless I misread it, I couldn't pick it up in the in the final report as to where the budget line sat on that as to being completed within budgets and what, if any, budget line may have been finalised. Or is it too soon to see that? I don't think I could see it in the completed project manager's report.
Yeah, no, we'll bring that back. I take that on board. We'll bring that back and then also propose to council what is planned for the rest.
Where that ended up within the budgets, which was a similar question to what His Worship was asking at the start of today's meeting for exactly the same reason. So if we could see that come back to that, and could we just take that as a action item too? Thanks, Keith. Okay,
Right.
carrying on with you, sir.
Okay, so now we go on to water projects. So the first one is the Martin Water Strategy.
Just a quick one on there. Only a typo,
Councillor
I
Morgan,
think.
yes.
6.13. About the consent. that Horizons requested additional information on the 5th of August, 2025.
Yeah.
So you need to make that 2024.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, so that was supplied and we had a big long meeting with them, with all our experts and all the experts, and now we're waiting for an outcome.
Okay, so just on this one, it's again, it's the Martin Water Strategy is a program that effectively started out life in 2019, and here we are, the best part of 5 years on the long line, and we're sort of starting to get to. I don't even think we're at the pointy end of it yet. We've still got some way to go. But if you read through this item in particular, it does highlight the amount of work that's going on in that space with regards to what hopefully will be a long-term sustainable outcome for Martin's water supply. But we should never lose sight of what the original strategy was and what we're looking to achieve. And I've asked this question at the last council meeting: is the strategy still online? Are what we're doing now still looking to deliver? In other words, we're looking for water that is consistent in colour, quality, taste, and safe for drinking. Are we still meeting all those objectives? And is your work that you're going on now, irrespective of the guarantees that His Worship was speaking of, still focusing on those points to meet those original objectives?
It's a great question. I think what I would suggest I would do is we created a problem statement and we created an objective right in the beginning, and maybe it's good to bring those back and just confirm that it ticks all those boxes.
Yeah, it's a long time ago since we started the project, and I think it's a little bit of a check in and go. I don't mind tacking off line somewhere, providing as that we're still going forward to meet the objective. But I think it's a good idea just to have a little bit of a recheck in on this one in some more detail. I know that we've had workshops to discuss it. Things will change. I note the issue of the silica sand has presented itself. That will ultimately have some long-term implications on the overall operation of the facility. So just looking to just check in on that one a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's an action as such, but just drawing your attention to that.
I think we should actually state that as a follow-up action, so we remember to bring it back.
Because there's quite a number of items in this report, which I feel, certainly for myself, but perhaps a number of other councillors in town may want to delve into a little bit more detail to get a greater understanding, because whilst it's not our single biggest project with regards to costings, in actual fact, from a costings point of view, it's actually not that high up the list with regards to costing, even dare I say it, at $11 million.
Yeah.
We've got several others which are a lot higher than that, but it's probably the highest profile costing, which I think we need to have a good strong focus on. But it's probably enough said for me on that one. That was just on the water strategy.
Right, so we'll move along to the community facilities. The first one is the Martin offices. Any questions on that?
That's all good.
The Taipi grandstand, just to confirm, there will be a report coming to the end of the month council meeting with regards to the grandstand.
Question, councillor Duncan?
For you, Chair. So has that Teams call actually taken place?
Teams call.
Schedule.
It was scheduled, but that was said it was scheduled at the end of last month.
I think, I don't know.
I'm
I'll have to
assuming
ask
that
which one. Yeah.
It's just interesting because I've got that one and the next one are actually identical to what was in the audit papers from the end of last month. And I just wonder how much progress has been made, but we did hear that those three reports were coming to council
Yeah. Yep.
through last night's meeting.
Yeah.
Ms. Prince, so, yeah, thank you.
Item 9.
Yeah, item 9, so that's still on path for bringing it back to council in December. And the last one is the Martin Swim Centre. That work has been commissioned, the site visit has been completed, all the investigations have been done. Engineers are now working on the report. And they will have it done before Christmas. We are pushing hard to see if we can get something in front of council before we shut down for Christmas, but I cannot guarantee that.
Would you envisage, and certainly fully understanding the pressure that you're going to be under, anything coming to council would be a decision-making report,
Yes.
potentially?
Okay.
Thank you.
Under miscellaneous, we got Scott's Ferry. So that work is progressing to put the MOU together.
Just, you know, we've been in a sort of similar position for quite a long time with regard to the Scott's Ferry one. Scott's Ferry community being kept up to date, because otherwise they keep emailing either myself or Dave. Ringing.
Yeah, that's a valid question. The answer is no. I think we did poorly in that space to keep them up to date. I phoned them and gave them an update to where we are, and it helped a lot, but we'll have to do better than just phoning every now and then. So we'll try and keep them up to speed as we go along now, keep them on the loop.
Could I ask who's overall in charge of that part of the project? I know some of the other team are working for other parts of this report. Do you have one dedicated to that one?
No, we don't. So unfortunately, Peter, the engineer that we had left, we haven't been asked to full position, so it's just one of the things I do.
Jill.
I'll be a bit slow, but going back to number 10, when you asked Chair if that was potentially a decision-making
Yes.
paper,
Yes.
what level of decision-making would we be able to take
Well,
from that paper?
what I meant by that comment was, are we looking at something that's going to say, you're going to need X amount of dollars, and we need to make a decision to find those dollars or fund those dollars, and or potentially go to the market for procurement of a contractor to do the work. That's the sort of level of decision making I was referring to.
And potentially taking it perhaps to the annual plan.
I don't know if we've got to go to an annual. On this one, I think we're just doing the job, are we not? Because I think we're committed to having a pool. I don't know that this one has to go to an annual plan for a decision. Because it's, we're repairing a current asset.
Yes, but given the level of expenditure, I would have thought that would have to go back to the community, especially in this climate with the fact that wellbeings are taken out.
I'm not sure about that one, but I'll.
Can I make a comment there, Mr. Chair? The view I have of the report, and that's why I'm a little uncertain, we'll see when it comes back, but what I see going forwards is this is where the teamwork will start to say, these are the things that they've identified, these are the potential repairs, and these are the costs, and really it's up to councillors to make that decision. What do we do right now under this is something we have to do, and what do we do over the next year, or the next 3 years, or the next 5 years, and then we need to work into an annual plan or a long-term plan. But it's kind of, let's put our heads together and figure out how do we get across this one once we get that report.
Thank you.
Bearing in mind that the council decision was to have a full close for this season, 24-25 season. So that would indicate a strong council desire to have it open again before next season.
Yes, I think that desire's still there, it's just how.
Yeah, it's how and what that may look like, but I think what Mr. Barney has quite rightly indicated is there could be some steps in that process.
Excellent.
So I'm very hopeful that we'll be in a position to make something that resembles a decision at the next meeting. But your worship, you may clarify, I mean, as an existing asset of which we are repairing, that does not need if we're getting it back to an operational stage, it is not an annual plan or a long-term plan or a consultation document, is it?
It's absolutely a council decision because it hasn't, if it was to be funded by the ratepayer, it would be significant.
Yeah.
And as such, it would have to be a council decision. And even if it was funded by external sources, there would be a process of informing at the very least.
So that would indicate to me that no decision to repair or anything to do with the swimming pool can happen until after July next year.
No, and
June, is it?
correct. So,
When's the annual plan?
so if a report came back to council saying, these are your options, these are the cost profiles associated with them. And for instance, if there was a profile or funding stream associated with them, council could make that decision. But if it was a significant expenditure for council, which it could be, then council would have to weigh the relative merits of that in terms of the ratepayer. And when we talk about long-term plans, it's important to think around both the service you provide and the cost.
Perhaps that general conversation may form part of the report that we'll need to understand in December, if we've got a chance to bring it before December's meeting.
Yeah.
Those are some of the questions that we need to understand as to what goes forward, isn't it? Absolutely. Councillor Loudon.
On the Mark swim centre, I think we were going to get an insurance opinion that was to whether that's covered or not.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, they came back and said it's not covered. We now have a new chief financial officer, CFO. She's gone back and said we disagree. We are looking at all possible avenues, loss of income, all kinds of things that we potentially could maybe claim under. Yeah, but it's not looking positive.
Not looking positive still tells me there is a little bit of positive, so let's hope, let's hope for that. Okay, so no further questions on item number 10. We're moving through Scott's Ferry. I think we'd dealt with that there was a need to get some great understanding of what the MOU was, and some communication with that. I know you've said that it falls under your space, but you know, in the interest of keeping that item or getting that item completed and then memorandum of understanding signed off. Perhaps there's somebody else within your space that you could perhaps be delegating that to keep a focus on it, because it's been around a long time.
It has been, absolutely. I'll take that on board. Then item 12. I wonder if we could ask Councillor Duncan to give us a quick update, because that just says what it says, but I think there's quite a bit of activity in that space before the end of the thing.
Yes, well, the opening of the bridge is on the 11th of December and everyone will be invited to that. Staff, RDC staff are providing a barbecue and support, which is great. And there has been a very nice flyer created by our fantastic IT team. Thank you. The second bridge is going along really well. It looks like a bridge already, but it's not totally completed, but will be by the time the 11th comes around. So that's looking like a really good day.
Thank you for your work in that space too, Councillor Duncan. I know that you're busy and proactive up there and tie happy around all things relating to time.
Could I just say one more thing? Councillor Wong actually did a very nice display at the Spring Fling on the Bridges project, and he might like to say something further, but
you had to be there, Steph. Thank you for those who didn't come.
Great bar.
Says it all. Well put, Councillor Wong.
Moving electronic.
No. It was on, Ben put it on. So if you look at the presentation, you would have seen
Okay, so we've had that report, project update report, moved by councillor Carter, seconded by myself earlier on in the meeting. I think there are 9 different projects in the traffic light section of that. Is anybody, rather than stepping through them all and hearing the explanations that we've had, has anybody highlighted anything in the update sections and next stages from that? It is a couple of months ago since we've had this meeting, but I do draw your attention again to the fact that this report was in last week's council meeting. Councillor Lambert,
Oh, the only thing I noted was the creeping orange,
creeping orange on any particular one,
over the whole, all of them.
indicating a
Well, they were green, they've moved to orange.
shift in the degree of uncertainty.
I was just wondering whether we were still comfortable with the light setting.
Yeah, I am comfortable with it. I think that's the idea for us. It's, and we would expect in all
Oh, yeah,
projects,
not-
things move along. So if
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
orange, it's orange. I'd
No.
rather see it as orange and deal with it
Yeah.
than keep it green. Yeah.
There could be different hues of orange, of course.
A lot of the key information sits there in those next steps.
Mm.
And in an update, and they do form largely a part of the earlier part of the report,
Yeah.
which we've just stepped through. However, it's important to take a little bit of a focus on what's in this part of the report as well, because that will give you the indication of why you've got a change in colour further in the.
Oh, no, it's just an observation more than anything, and I'm pleased that, like, there's no hesitation to go to orange if they feel it isn't orange, you know, but I've just noticed that it is. Yeah, there's certainly, there was nothing here alarming, I just thought it was the only comment I had.
Okay, being nothing further on that section, your worship, on this section of the report?
Yeah, just a very minor one. I know when we replace the falling mains, or rising mains, whichever way you want to call them, into towns, inevitably we often find that there are pipes that are connected to the old ones that we either don't know about or that we did know about and have contractual positions with. In terms of tie happy, are there any concerns there? So the other side of State Highway 1, for instance, there are a number of connections there, which will be connections to the old lines. Where does that leave us in terms of our vulnerability, in terms of agreements?
Mr. Chair, or to be honest, I don't think I can answer the question unless I got more detail of what it is. I'm not, top of my head, I'm aware of some users of that line, and so is this one, but they are approved users. I'm not aware of unapproved or.
The old lines won't have water going down them at any stage.
Again, I need the details. I'm not sure what are they connected to something or?
Well, I don't know, but I suspect that may be an issue that comes in front of us. Does anybody look at that sort of connection data?
No, so for us, no, if there's no reason to look at we wouldn't even know it's there if there's no reason to look at it. So if we're going to replace a main, we will show on the drawings where the known connections are, and we would find them and reconnect them to the new renewal. I don't think there's any mystery to any of that. If there is something that we are unaware of, it means it's in the connection that we don't know about. But just as I'm sitting with the knowledge that I have now, I'm not aware of any of that, especially not on that anyway. But if there is something, please let us know.
Yeah, I think maybe that's one you can take offline if there's a specific that you're referring to, your worship, but clearly he's indicated that he can't answer any more information to that question. I suspect to know where your concerns are coming from, but without that information direct.
I'm just all I'm doing is signalling it wouldn't surprise me if we run into these issues.
Thank you for that. being nothing further in any of that section of today's meeting, moving on to 9.4. Ms. Finch, you are sitting patiently at the table here to take us through this one, which will possibly have more questions than answers in it for you. So this is the Leisure Management Swim Season Report 23-24.
Yes, and to be fair, the staff report is really just a covering report, and we have got Raina here from CLM, if I may invite her to the table,
Yes,
just
certainly.
to answer any questions in her report.
Welcome again to Chambers.
Thank you.
So you can take the report that's been read and has been circulated to councillors. Would you like to step us through? Is there any highlights that you'd like to pick through, or
I'm happy to answer any questions, really. Obviously, the information shows it wasn't as big a season as we experienced in our first year. There are a couple of issues behind that. We were looking forward to this season, obviously. We'd secured some high quality staff, but unfortunately, we're not operational, but
when you said there was a couple of issues behind it, was anything in particular? Just picking up on your comment just then.
that was just with the occasional heating issues we had with our gas heaters, which I'll probably tune up Arno's and Galen's ear off. Which hopefully will be addressed this time, yeah.
Simon, Councillor Loudon.
Just the attendance numbers on Martin seem to have halved. And just concerned about that.
Yeah, so the primary reason behind that is we lost 2 key staff members. We lost Trevor Nichols and our aerobics instructors. They played a huge part in the role of the facility. Trevor Nichols is an icon, and literally, we were very lucky to have had him stay on after we took on the contract, and people basically travelled for him. Primarily, we are quite limited in what we can offer as a swim centre in its current condition. We had swim camps previously come to the centre. We cannot do that anymore. We don't meet the FINA rules. But there's dive blocks and that, so swim camps, competitive swimmers we don't get coming through anymore. Yeah. And there was the swim school, the schools coming through, that's highlighted. We believe that number was actually incorrect, because we had a couple of schools through their own financial issues that couldn't come through. They couldn't secure buses to come to the facility.
Right. Mr. Chair,
Yes,
just make a comment
certainly.
there. It's something that's happened over the last month and a half. We are growing a much closer relationship with Sport Wanganui, and what I've asked is, how do we leverage the asset that we have with different sports that can use it? So there's already some movement in that space. But for instance, the swim groups, if there's specific things that they need, those are the things that we can try and supply to be sure that we use the asset a lot more. But I think that closer relationship will help a lot to get a lot more people to use the asset.
Your Worship.
Yes, just on page 53 of the report, the second paragraph down, it talks about the relationship with Ngātawa and Huntly in terms of coaching. So is that coaching in their pools?
No, that was with us here, with at Martin Swim Centre.
That's
Yeah.
just what I wondered.
We have looked, obviously, with the situation we're in now, we have looked at all the local school pools as to suitability. Matawa and Huntly both have excellent pools. They don't quite meet what we'd be looking for to provide a swimming facility to the community.
Councillor Dalgety.
So my major concern is that kids in the Rangitikei get the opportunity to learn to swim. And so just interested in around Martin first. Those swimming lesson numbers went from 3,700 odd to 1,300 odd last season, and then similarly in Taihepe they went from 3,000 to 1,400. Just wondering what's that behind that, please?
a big part of that was financial. Our first season, we did have quite a few free, like have 2 lessons free. Because we only operate for those 2 terms, the 2 10-week blocks. And the first season, we had a decent, huge amount of interest. This last season, and it's been across all our facilities in New Zealand, just a reduction in swim school numbers, purely for financial. A lot of families now, you're looking large families, you've got more than 3 or 4 kids. It's a fairly hefty amount, unfortunately. And again, caliber of swimming for Martin in particular, the swim school. Trevor Nichols again had squads, and we had a lot of out-of-towners coming to Martin in particular to do those lessons with him.
Right.
Yeah.
Councillor Duncan.
Thanks, Roma. I just want to say that I went to aqua aerobics in Taihepe the other day, and everyone is absolutely loving it, and we're very lucky with our instructor. But there was a lot of comment around the equipment that has been shared with Taihepe as it's not being used in Martin. So thank you very much. They were very appreciative.
Okay, would you like to highlight any further in your report around it? As you step your way through it, clearly you've had there are some challenges.
Yeah, everyone's got challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really enjoyed working with Hunterville. Pleased to see that they're firing themselves up. Yeah. We've offered assistance, and actually they're okay, which is great. We'll be off reaching out again, see if they'd like inflatables or any of those type fun activities that we did last season for them.
I'm sure they'll be embraced.
Yeah, again, so we were able to secure a lovely lady, Carla de Hulier. She's the Special Olympics coach, who we had contracted to come out to join us this season. Hopefully with this, myself and Arno are catching up afterwards for a solution for the community for this season. She'll be available to provide swim safety, water safety and swimming lessons for the community, albeit on a smaller scale, but we're still very conscious that, we don't want the community missing out. Yeah.
Councillor Moore.
What's your feedback been from the public about the closure of the pool? You got anything you'd like to share with us? That the clients that come in, knocking at the door and saying what's going on?
Oh, we've had a very varied amount of feedback. The majority of it has just been to do with what can we provide? Can we do private swimming lessons? Can we, set up Hunterville? Can we set up a school pool? And a lot of these options we have explored. Generally, there's overall, it's more dismay that we haven't been able to open this season. And I don't think any of it has been directed at the council or per se as such. It's just basically that, because other communities are in the same situation. There's Frimley, for example, they had private funding and they still just couldn't make it happen. A little bit of sense of disappointment, and the concern is again for the drowning figures in New Zealand, which we don't want to see that now.
Yes, but disappointing across the board that we're in that situation. But however, we're as a council, we're doing our best we can to get the situation rectified as quickly and as efficient as we can. The urgency to be up and running is not lost on us across the board. Are there any further questions?
Yeah.
Councillor Dalgety.
I'm just interested, with our decision that you were in the room for, but where did you sit on that? Were you happy with that outcome?
Personally,
Yeah.
Council, I'm not sure that was a decision that was made by council at the time around a council table. I think the decision has been made, and I don't personally
I'll
think
withdraw
for the
it.
chair, I don't think that's fair
Oh,
to be putting a contractor in that situation operating for council.
okay,
Sorry,
thank you.
so. Thank you for the question.
Added to that, though, there was a position put in their report to council. That's in the report.
Yeah.
From the company.
I think we'll just park that one there and leave that there. Thanks, guys, if we can. That's what the position I'm going to take from the chair on that one.
Sure.
So thank you for your time. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming to see us once again. As I said, we'll keep in close contact with you via Ms. Prince and whatever things you can do to work with us for the situation that we find ourselves in. So thank you for your continued support.
Always here to help.
Thank you. I'll move from the chair, the recommendation, the report be received. Community Leisure Centre Management report be received, seconded from councillor Carter. Thank you, councillor Carter. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you for your time. We now move on to item 9.5. Hunterville Community Abbas Trust reports, also on their swim season, 2 standard reports that we receive, we do receive as council every year, noting Councillor Dalgety is the chair of the Hunterville Community Trust, but clearly there is no conflict of interest between this item and today's agenda. So who's going to step us through that one? Tag team between councillor Dalgety and Ms. Prince. Perhaps you'd like to step us through. I think it's appropriate, councillor Dalgety.
Oh, I just take it as read and happy to receive any questions.
Quick one for me. I note climate impact change solar heating has been installed. When was that installed?
Last season, so we did the last season was with the heated pool.
Yeah.
So we can run it at about 26 degrees.
And that's proved pretty successful across the board, has it?
Last season was very, very successful. If you remember back in March, so we got cold really fast.
Yeah.
So we weren't able to extend that season as long as we would have liked. Yeah. But we will open earlier. Yeah.
Anything just, sorry, councillor Loudon?
Well, just on the solar heating, is there any cost benefit analysis type thinking around that? Did you gain from installing?
The main reason for us, so obviously we get grant funding for that, was just little kids wanting to use the pool and not get up absolutely freezing. Yeah. It's been on, as stated in the report, it's been our dream for decades.
The community trust up there is very active within the Hunterville community space and with yourself as chair. Are there any issues coming up with the pool that have been brought to you? I know you've done a lot of work over the last few years to get it up to speed. Is there anything upcoming that's causing concerns?
So just currently just re-roofing that shed that's picture there. No, it was a big challenge last year and we thank Martin for their assistance when suddenly we needed to train up a whole team of lifeguards. And we would hope that wouldn't happen again because obviously it's a difficult cost in that. Yeah, I've talked to I did write to the CE and asked if in his negotiations with the Martin contractors, we would love some poachers over the summer break. I haven't heard anything back in that respect.
Some coaches from
Yeah.
what you may.
So basically, we use the swimming club coach as coaches, and we would have members of Hunterville that would come up to Martin to learn to swim. We will make the facility available if anyone is available to coach, and parents would pay for that service.
So is that a conversation that the two bodies are actively engaged in between the Martin Swim Centre and yourselves?
Well, I put it to the CE too. Yeah, well, I didn't know that it was I should be doing that directly, but
Well, I'm just wondering, as the chair of the trust, if that's not a conversation between the two parties, you couldn't, yeah. And then perhaps have some indication of what that might look like to see, just thinking out loud without understanding the space, but yeah. If there's some benefits across the board, given the situation that we find ourselves in.
Speak to Lyndon as well. Yeah, it'd be really cool to get that up and running for the school holidays.
Yeah, it would be good to see that. happen.
The other issue is really around adding to the placemaking of the Rangatiki. This pool's coming up 100 years old and looks fantastic. And it would be very cool to get some signage around that. I also note that there's no AA sign off the state highway. There's one for the squash club, which is next door, but the swimming club, the swimming pool would be awesome if we could add a sign there. And we would like, I don't know, the vision would be to do something like the Wairau Museum, you know, surely you're ready for a dip or something. And if we only charge $1 a swim, so, you know, to capture that public driving past, I think would be a great asset. But we would love some help with perhaps designing that advertising, if you've got that ability to help us. Council.
Well, thank you for that. Councillor Moore, did you?
Only a comment on the roof of the old shed. There is now a possum looking for a new home.
Thank you.
All right, are there any further questions of councillor Dalketty? As chair of the Honourable Community Trust? And Ms Prince, have you got any further comment on these two reports that we've received today? As standard reports to council, but with some detail around them. Nothing further to comment on? Is there any further comment from council sitting around the table? Councillor Duncan?
I just thought this was a fantastic report and I love the way you started it with wow, because it is wow, and you know, well done to the team. Thank you.
Okay, so on the grounds of that, councillor Duncan, you'll be moving that the recommendation that the end of season report be received.
Yes,
Thank you for that. Seconded from councillor Moore. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? That motion is carried. Thank you for your work in that space, councillor Duncan, and thank you to the community of Huntable as well. So thank you for that. I think now that brings us to the end of today's agenda. Councillors, just a quick go around. Is everybody happy? Any other items that we can address now? If not, as I say, forever hold your peace. I will move that the meeting now be closed at 2:52 p.m. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for those online. Appreciate your time. Thank you.